Welcome back. 2 years ago, the ACLU and other groups sued Florida in federal court because they believed the state would not faithfully enact Amendment 4, which restored the rights of most convicted felons. At the time, the attorneys warned that the state may try and arrest people for making a mistake that would come about because the state did not have a system in place to let people know if they were eligible to get their voting rights back. And that's exactly what happened in August when Ron DeSantis announced the arrest of 20 people. Julie Ebenstein was one of the ACLU attorneys who argued that federal case 2 years ago. I asked for her reaction when she learned about the arrest.
It was really disappointing and unfortunately not unexpected. These are issues that we raised over the course of a lawsuit after Amendment 4 and then SB 7066 was passed. Our trial judge, when we challenged the pay-to-vote system that Florida put in place, called the system an administrative train wreck. And what the problem is that Florida cannot, in many instances, tell people whether or not they're eligible to vote. So you have well-intentioned returning citizens who want to register and vote and think that they're eligible and make a good faith attempt to do the right thing and to come back to participating in democracy. Now we have the state targeting those folks for prosecution instead of helping them to determine whether they're eligible or not.
You actually, as you said, predicted that this was likely to happen, but the state pushed back. The state specifically said that the very things we're seeing now were not going to happen. Talk to me a little bit about what the state's argument were and how they no longer sort of hold water given the events of the past few months.
So over the course of our lawsuit, the state reassured the court that only people intentionally registering when they're not eligible would face problems, face prosecution, or run afoul of this law. They reassured the court that people who made honest mistakes or who couldn't make a determination would not be targeted. And our fear the entire time was that because the state has made it so difficult for people to determine whether they're eligible or not, that they would start targeting people for mistakes, and that's exactly what we've seen here.
Are you concerned that one of the results of a case like this, a high-profile case like this, is that felons who have legitimately had their rights restored, who are eligible to vote, will be afraid to vote, not knowing if something like this could happen to them, that maybe there was another mistake with their case, with the state issuing them, and so as a result it could have a chilling effect on those returning citizens exercising their right to vote in the future?
I'm more than concerned. I actually think that was the intent of this entire operation, to make a small number of high-profile arrests and prosecutions, to tout it in a press conference, to go after people who, by all accounts, seem to have just made an error. I believe the intent was to chill other valid, eligible voters from registering and voting. This is scaring people. They're concerned that they'll fall into the same situation. And Amendment 4 was passed in order to bring people with a prior conviction back into the electorate. The voters of Florida wanted to bring folks back into the electorate and give them a second chance. So the last thing that Floridians want is to chill participation from returning citizens instead of encouraging them to become part of the democratic process. I think that's exactly what these prosecutions run the risk of doing.
And for those who were arrested, this may be a low-level crime in the sense of it's not the type of thing that a governor would typically hold a press conference about. But for these individuals, you know, it's a felony. They're charged with felonies, and that could be very complicating for their own futures in a much more dramatic way because of their prior history, right?
Of course, it's terrifying for people. Somebody who has already gone through the criminal justice system, who has a conviction in their past, and who has managed to carry out all the terms of their sentence, rejoin the community, really reestablish their life and try to participate in their community. I can't even imagine how frightening it must be to find themselves back on that side of the criminal justice system for an innocent mistake. I think that the reason this will chill participation is because people are already nervous and trying to do right and don't want to take a risk after they've already been given a second chance. And that's the concern, that eligible voters will be deterred from voting. If anything, I wish that the time and energy and publicity around prosecuting a few people for a mistake had instead been spent on improving the system so that more people who are eligible can register and vote. And so people can really determine whether or not they are eligible before they register. That would have been a better use of these resources than going after a few people to deter other eligible voters from voting.
When we come back, State Senate candidate Janelle Perez.